People think unhappy marriages are loud. They think you'll hear the fights, the slammed doors, the breaking point. But some marriages are quiet. Nothing is wrong, except the way you slowly disappear inside them. She married a man everyone admired. A man who gave her everything, except himself. This is the story of what happens when love is real, but presence is missing. Some choices don't feel wrong when you make them. They feel responsible, sensible, safe. And sometimes, those choices cost the most. Stay with the story on StoryQuell TV. She met him at a fundraiser for the Children's Hospital where she worked in development. Not as a guest, as staff. She was 28, in a black sheath dress she'd owned for 3 years, standing near the silent auction tables with a clipboard, making sure bid numbers matched donor cards. He came over because someone had written the wrong amount on a pledge form. "Excuse me," he said. "I think there's been a mistake." She looked up, recognized him immediately, though she didn't react. Everyone knew who he was. You didn't work in nonprofit fundraising in this city without knowing the names that opened doors. "Let me check," she said, taking the form. Her voice was calm, professional. She found the error in 10 seconds, corrected it with a single phone call, and handed him a new copy. "Thank you," he said. "Of course." He didn't leave. "You're very efficient." "It's my job." Most people would have panicked. Most people don't work in hospital administration. He smiled. It was brief, controlled. Fair point. That was all. 3 weeks later, his office called. They were looking for someone to coordinate a private foundation he was launching. Medical research, education access, infrastructure in underserved areas. Real work, not vanity philanthropy. The recruiter said they'd been referred to her by the hospital's director of development. Would she be interested in an interview? She was. The interview was in his office. 53rd floor. Floor-to-ceiling windows. The kind of space that made you aware of how much you didn't belong there. He asked her about her experience, her approach to donor relations, how she prioritized when everything was urgent. She answered clearly, didn't apologize for what she didn't know, didn't oversell what she did. At the end, he said, "You don't seem impressed." "By what?" He gestured vaguely at the room. "The view. The obvious." "I'm not here to be impressed," she said. "I'm here to see if this is a real job." "And is it?" "I think so. But I need to see the budget and the board structure before I could say for sure." He hired her the next day. She was good at the work. She knew how to move through rooms full of wealth without flinching, how to make people feel seen without flattering them, how to ask for money in a way that felt like partnership, not desperation. He noticed. He started asking her to travel with him to site visits, to sit in on strategy meetings, to review grant proposals before they went to the board. It wasn't romantic. It was professional, but it was also proximity. She learned how he worked, the way he listened without interrupting, the way he made decisions quickly without second-guessing, the way he expected competence and didn't waste time on praise. She liked that. It felt clean. 6 months in, they were in Geneva for a conference. Dinner with a group of funders ran late. Afterward, they walked along the lake. It was June, still light at 10 p.m. "You're wasted in philanthropy," he said. "Why? You could be running something." "I am running something. You know what I mean." She stopped walking, looked at him. "I like the work I do. I'm not interested in corporate." "I wasn't offering you a job." "Then what were you offering?" He didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was quieter. "I don't know yet." That was the first time she understood it wasn't just professional anymore. 3 months later, he asked her to dinner. Not a work dinner, just dinner. They went to a small Italian place in the West Village. No one recognized him there. It was almost normal. He asked her about her life before this. Her family. What she wanted. She told him the truth. She didn't come from money, but she'd never felt poor. Her parents were teachers. She'd worked through college. She liked structure. She liked knowing what she was building toward. "And what are you building toward?" he asked. "I'm not sure yet," she said. "But I'll know it when I see it." He looked at her for a long moment. "I think you already do." He proposed 4 months after that. Not in public. Not with a spectacle. They were in his apartment. It was a Saturday. She'd stayed over the night before. They were drinking coffee. He was reading the paper. She was answering emails. He set the paper down. "I think we should get married." She looked up. "What?" "I think we should get married," he said again. Calm. Certain. Why? Because I don't want to be with anyone else. And I don't think you do either. She set her phone down. That's not a proposal. What would you prefer? I don't know. Something less transactional. He stood, came around the table, got down on one knee. Is this better? She laughed. She couldn't help it. No. He smiled. Stayed there. I'm serious. I know. So. She looked at him. This man who had built empires, who moved through the world like it owed him nothing, who had chosen her, not because she needed him, but because she didn't. Okay, she said. Okay. Yes. He stood, kissed her. It was brief, but it was real. The wedding was small. Immediate family. A handful of close friends. No press. She wore a dress she chose herself. Simple. Expensive, but not showy. They honeymooned in Provence. 2 weeks. No itinerary. It was the most time they'd ever spent alone together. She noticed, even then, how easily he could be present and absent at the same time. How he could sit across from her at dinner and still seem like he was working through something in his head. But she didn't mind. She was used to people who worked hard, who carried weight. She thought that was just who he was. She thought she'd signed up for that. They lived in a penthouse overlooking Central Park. She hadn't chosen it. He'd owned it for years, but she softened it anyway. Books on the side tables. A ceramic bowl from a market in Provence. Small details that suggested a person lived there, not just a life on display. Her mornings began early. Coffee in the kitchen while he was already on a call in his office. She learned not to wait. Breakfast was something you did alone. Or not at all. She still worked. Not at the foundation. He'd quietly suggested it might be a conflict once they were married, but on the board of a mid-sized arts nonprofit. Strategy. Fundraising. Decisions that mattered. She was good at it. Most of her time, though, went into managing the life that moved around him. The house in East Hampton. The London apartment they barely used. The staff. The calendar. The dinners. She was good at that too. Early in the marriage, they hosted a dinner. 20 people. Business partners. Their wives. A journalist from the Financial Times. She placed everyone carefully. The journalist beside someone engaging. The quiet wife next to someone kind. The night unfolded without friction. Food on time. Conversation easy. After the last guest left, he found her in the kitchen, stacking wine glasses. That was well done, he said. Thank you. You're better at this than I expected. She looked at him. What did you expect? I don't know. I just didn't realize you could do this. Host a dinner? Make it look effortless. She smiled. It didn't reach very far. I'm glad it seemed that way. He kissed her forehead. Went to bed. She stayed in the kitchen a while longer, unsure why she hadn't followed. They traveled often. London, Tokyo, Singapore, sometimes for business, sometimes because he had meetings and she came along. She liked the movement. New cities, new air. But she noticed how little of each place she actually touched. Hotel suites, car services, private dining rooms. In Tokyo, she asked if they could walk through the city, just for an hour. He checked his watch. I have a call at 4. It's early. I need to prepare. Okay. She went alone, walked through Shibuya, sat in a small cafe, watched people cross the street in waves. When she returned, he was still on the call. That fall, there was a gala. Black tie. A museum opening. She wore a gown he'd had delivered to the apartment. Ivory silk. Custom-made. Flawless. She didn't remember choosing it. But it fit. They arrived together. Cameras at the entrance. She knew where to stand. How to angle her body. Where her hand belonged. Inside, people gathered around him. Everyone wanted something. A word. A moment. She stayed beside him. Shook hands. Smiled when expected. Stepped back when the talk turned to business. A woman she half recognized leaned in. You look stunning. Thank you. And the two of you. Honestly, like something out of a movie. She smiled politely. That's kind of you. No, really. He barely looks at anyone else. You can tell. She glanced at him. Focused. Engaged. Present. With someone else. Yes, she said. You can tell. On their first anniversary, he gave her a bracelet. Cartier. Rose gold. Delicate. She opened the box at breakfast. He was scanning his phone. It's beautiful, she said. I'm glad you like it. When did you find time to pick it out? I didn't. My assistant handled it. She looked up. He noticed. Set the phone aside. That came out wrong. Did it? I approved it. I just didn't have time to go myself. Right. You don't like it. I do. It's beautiful. He reached for her hand. I should have gone myself. It's fine. It's not. 2 minutes later, his phone rang. He answered. She slid the bracelet on. It fit perfectly. That spring, they spent a weekend in the Hamptons with another couple. Old friends of his. The wife, Caroline, was warm, thoughtful, married 15 years. Beach during the day, lunch on the deck, conversation that felt easy. After dinner, the men drifted inside to talk business. She and Caroline stayed outside with wine. You're good for him, Caroline said. You think so? I do. He's softer with you. She looked toward the water. I don't know if that's true. It is. Before you, work was everything. And now? Caroline smiled. Now he cancels less. She laughed. It didn't last. Does it bother you? Caroline asked. How much he works? No. I knew what I was signing up for. Did you? She hesitated. I thought I did. Caroline leaned back. You build a life inside it. Is that what you did? Yes. And you're happy? Caroline met her eyes. Most of the time. Late one night, long after the house had gone quiet, they lay together. They'd had sex. It was good. Familiar. She faced him. He lay on his back, eyes closed. Do you ever think about stopping? She asked. Stopping what? Working like this. Stepping back. He turned toward her. Why would I? I don't know. For time. For what? She didn't have an answer. He pulled her closer. Kissed her hair. I'm building something. I know. And you're part of it. I know. But she wasn't sure she was. For their second anniversary, he took her to Paris. For days. Meetings first. Time together after. They walked along the Seine. Ate at a small bistro. Stayed in bed late one morning. It felt close. Almost real. On the flight home, she fell asleep on his shoulder. When she woke, he was working on his laptop. She watched him for a moment, then closed her eyes again. She began to notice the silences. Not the comfortable quiet. Those had always existed. But the pauses where something should have followed, and didn't. Like the morning she mentioned her mother had called. Upset. Briefly frightened about her father's health. He glanced up from his phone. Is he okay? Yes. False alarm. Good. His attention returned to the screen. She waited. For him to ask about her mother. About her. He didn't. She told herself it wasn't important. He had a meeting soon. He was distracted. Still, she noticed. When one of his oldest friends came to town, they met for dinner at a steakhouse in Midtown. Greg was easy. Warm. He asked her about her work. Her life. Actually listened. Midway through the meal, Greg told a story about a trip he'd taken with his wife. How they'd gotten lost. How it turned into the best night of the vacation. You two should go, Greg said. You'd love it. Her husband smiled. Maybe. I'm serious, Greg said. When was the last time you took a real break? We went to Paris, her husband said. For a few days, Greg replied. And you worked half of it. Her husband shrugged. That's the job. Greg looked at her. Does he ever stop? She smiled. Not really. And you're okay with that? I knew what I was signing up for. Greg laughed. That's what everyone says. The way he said it made her feel understood. And slightly exposed. She started spending more time with her own friends. Women from before the marriage. People who didn't care who her husband was. Lunch in Soho. Coffee in Brooklyn. They didn't ask about the marriage. They asked about her. How are you? Not politely. Honestly. I'm fine, she said. You always say that, one of them replied. Because it's true. Is it? She looked down at her plate. I don't know what else to say. You don't have to. Another friend said gently. But if you ever want to, we're here. Something tightened in her chest. She nodded. Changed the subject. One evening, they were supposed to have dinner together. Just the two of them. She made a reservation at the restaurant they used to love. Got dressed. Waited. He called. I'm stuck in a meeting. How long? I'm not sure. Should I cancel? A pause. Yes. I'm sorry. She canceled. Ordered takeout. Ate alone at the kitchen counter. He came home late. Found her reading. I'm sorry, he said. It's fine. It's not. Then don't tell me it is. He sat on the edge of the bed. I can't always control my schedule. I know. Then what's the problem? She closed her book. There isn't one. He didn't believe her. but he didn't push. She turned off the light. Lay awake long after he fell asleep. She began going to museums alone. The Met, the Guggenheim, quiet galleries tucked into side streets. She liked being somewhere beautiful where no one needed her. One afternoon, standing in front of a painting, deep reds, heavy shadows, something shifted in her chest. She couldn't name it. Grief, maybe. But for what? He left on a work trip. Come with me, he said. I can't. Why not? I have commitments. He hesitated, then nodded. She thought about changing her mind. Didn't. He texted when he arrived. Called once. Then nothing. She sent a message eventually. Hope it's going well. Hours later. Busy day? She stared at the screen. Typed. Deleted. Put the phone down. When he returned, he brought her a gift. Cashmere. Soft. Perfect. You didn't have to, she said. I wanted to. He kissed her. I missed you. Did you? He looked surprised. Of course. She nodded. She didn't say what she was thinking. I'm not sure you noticed I was gone. At another formal event, she arrived alone. Found him mid-conversation. Important people. Serious faces. He smiled when he saw her. Pulled her into the circle. You remember my wife. Hands were shaken. Compliments exchanged. She stood beside him. Smiled on cue. But she knew. If she stepped away, nothing would change. Later, in the car, she asked, Do you enjoy these? They're necessary. Do you ever wish you didn't have to? Didn't have to what? Perform. Be on all the time. That's who I am. She looked out the window. Okay. He reached for her hand. Are you unhappy? She looked at him. At the man who loved her the only way he knew how. No, she said. But the answer didn't feel solid anymore. One rare, open morning, they stayed in. Pancakes. Music. Something easy. Then his phone rang. I need to take this. She nodded. He disappeared into his office. She cleaned. Sat down. Waited. An hour passed. Then another. She watched a movie alone. When he finally came back. Sorry. That ran long. It's okay. Want to go for a walk? She said yes. They walked. Held hands. Talked about nothing that mattered. It should have felt close. Instead, she thought, I've been alone all morning. You just arrived. She started writing things down. Not a diary. Just fragments. Sentences she never said out loud. I don't think he knows my middle name. We've been married 3 years, and I can't remember the last time he asked me a question about myself that wasn't logistical. I'm lonely in a room full of people who think I have everything. She kept the notebook in her nightstand. Never opened it during the day. Only late at night, when he was asleep or working. She didn't know what she was trying to solve, but she knew something needed a name. They hosted a dinner not long after. 12 people. Investors. Board members. Their wives. Everything was planned. Menu. Seating. Music. During dinner, one of the women, older, kind, asked what she was working on. I'm on the board of an arts nonprofit, she said. We're launching a mentorship program for young artists. That sounds wonderful, the woman said. Do you enjoy it? I do. It feels meaningful. Good, she said. It's important to have something that's yours. Across the table, her husband looked up. She's being modest. She built most of it herself. There were approving smiles. Compliments. She smiled too. Later, when the apartment was quiet again, something settled in her chest. He knew what she did. He could explain it cleanly, but he'd never once asked why it mattered to her. If this realization feels uncomfortably familiar, pause here. You're not imagining it. Some truths don't arrive loudly. They settle. Stay with the story. One night, getting ready for bed, she asked him a question. When you think about us, she said, what do you think about? He answered easily. What we have. Our life. Which is what? A partnership. A good life. Are you happy? He asked. I didn't say that. Then what are you saying? She looked down. Nothing. Forget it. He tilted her chin up. Talk to me. She wanted to say it. You see a version of me that fits into your life. I don't know if you actually know me. But she didn't. I'm just tired, she said. He kissed her forehead. Get some sleep. She did. He stayed up working. She began noticing other couples. How some reached for each other without thinking. How affection appeared in small, unconscious ways. With them, touch was deliberate, scheduled, appropriate. She couldn't remember the last time he'd reached for her. Just because. They took a quiet trip together. Just the two of them. Dinner outside. Wine. The ocean breathing in the distance. This is nice, he said. It is. We should do this more often. We should. They sat in silence. Not uncomfortable. Just empty. Do you ever think about having kids? She asked. He looked surprised. I haven't thought about it much. We've been married 3 years. I know. And you haven't thought about it? I've been focused on other things. She nodded. I think I want them, she said softly. With you. He squeezed her hand. We'll talk about it. She knew what that meant. Back home, life resumed its shape. Meetings. Calls. Schedules. The conversation disappeared. She didn't chase it. At the nonprofit, a volunteer shared her story. Divorced. 8 years married. I spent so long being someone's wife, the woman said. I forgot who I was. And then I remembered. Later, in the hallway, she asked, Do you regret it? No, the woman said. But I regret how long I stayed silent. The questions started coming on their own. If I leave, what do I lose? If I stay, what disappears? Does he love me? Or the idea of me? Is there a difference? At another event, she caught her reflection in a restroom mirror. Perfect hair. Perfect dress. A stranger looking back. When she returned, he was laughing. Relaxed. She sat beside him. He didn't notice she'd been gone. Later, in bed, he said, I love you. I know. Do you? Yes. They moved together the way they always did. After, he fell asleep. She didn't. I don't know if this is enough anymore. One afternoon, she stood in the doorway of his office. Do you think we're happy? She asked. He looked up. I think we have a good life. That's not the same thing, isn't it? She waited. He didn't ask anything back. I need to finish this, he said. Can we talk later? She nodded, walked away, and understood something she hadn't wanted to before. Some people don't ignore your needs. They just don't know how to see them. She moved through the benefit on instinct. A room she used to enjoy. Now just another circuit. Black dress. Simple. He told her she looked beautiful. She thanked him. Photos. Handshakes. Familiar smiles. Midway through the evening, she stepped onto the terrace for air. A man was already there. Someone adjacent to the world they moved in. Needed a break? He asked. Something like that. These things are exhausting. They are. Silence settled between them. Comfortable. Honest. Can I ask you something? He said. Sure. Do you ever feel like you're performing? Even when no one's watching? She didn't hesitate. Yes. He smiled. Me too. Finished his drink. Back inside. He left. She stayed a little longer. When she returned, her husband was deep in conversation. He saw her, motioned her over. She went. But something had shifted. A quiet evening not long after. He was reading. She had her laptop open. I've been thinking, she said. About what? About taking a trip. Just me. For a bit. Where? I don't know. Somewhere quiet. Why? Because I need space. He set the briefing down. Space from what? She closed her laptop. From this. The routine. Are you okay? I just need to think. About what? She paused. About whether I'm happy. He stared at her. And you need to leave to figure that out? Maybe. That doesn't make sense. Why not? If something's wrong, we should talk. Here. We don't talk, she said. Not really. That's not true. Isn't it? He turned toward the window. I don't understand where this is coming from. It's been coming for a while. And you're only saying it now? I've tried. You don't hear me. When? She thought of every moment he didn't ask. Every silence he didn't notice. Forget it, she said. No. Tell me. I can't. Why not? Because I don't think it'll change anything. He looked at her like she'd struck him. You don't think I care. I think you care about the idea of us. I don't think you care about me. The words hung between them. That's not fair, he said. Maybe. I've given you everything. I know. Then what do you want? She looked at him. Really looked. I want you to know my favorite book. I want you to ask how I'm feeling and wait for the answer. I want to matter outside of what I do for you. You do matter. Do I? Yes. Then tell me something about me. Anything. That isn't logistical. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Tried again. Nothing. Something broke quietly inside her chest. That's what I thought. You're putting me on the spot. I'm asking you to know me. I do know you. No, she said. You know the version of me that fits into your life. I love you. I know. Then why isn't that enough? She didn't answer. Because love without attention is just an idea, and she couldn't live inside an idea anymore. She never took the trip, but what had been said stayed said. The days after were careful. Polite questions. Safe answers. Two people performing concern for something they both felt slipping. Late one night, neither of them asleep. Do you want to leave? He asked. She didn't answer right away. I don't know. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. If you go, he said quietly, I won't stop you. I know, but I don't want you to. She turned toward him. Familiar face. Familiar distance. I don't want to leave, she said. But I don't know how to stay. What does that mean? It means I need something to change. And I don't think you know how to give it to me. Tell me how. I've tried. Try again. She sat up. I need you to see me. Not my role. Not my usefulness. Me. I do see you. You see what I do. Not who I am. Then tell me. Her voice tightened. I shouldn't have to. He said nothing. She turned away. I'm trying, he said. I know. But she wasn't sure trying was enough anymore. They had dinner alone soon after. The ivory dress from their first year. The one he liked. Small talk. Polite smiles. Halfway through, he reached across the table. I know I haven't been good at this, he said. At being present. She stayed quiet. This is who I am, he continued. I work. I build. I know. I don't want to lose you. She looked at their hands. I don't want to lose you either. Then tell me what to do. She met his eyes. I need you to want to know me. Not because I asked, but because you can't imagine not knowing. He sat with that for a long time. I don't know if I can be what you need. The most honest thing he'd ever said. She gently pulled her hand away. I know. That night, she lay awake beside him. Thought about how long she'd waited for the right questions. And understood something she hadn't before. Maybe the question she needed wasn't for him. What do I want? Not the life. Not the appearance. Not the stability. Just what do I want? She didn't have the answer. But for the first time, she let herself ask. She stayed. Not because anything changed, but because leaving felt impossible. Where would she go? Back to a smaller life? Back to explaining a story that sounded ungrateful even in her own head. So she stayed. Family gatherings came and went. At one of them, his mother asked about children. He deflected. She smiled and said maybe soon. Later, in the car, she asked quietly, Do you actually want kids? I don't know. Do you? I asked you first. He sighed. Can we talk about this later? We never do. There's no urgency. There's no urgency because you don't think about it. He didn't answer. She watched the road the rest of the way home. Gift exchanges followed. He gave her diamond studs. Beautiful. Impeccable. She gave him a rare book, something he'd mentioned once, years ago. I said that, he asked. In Geneva. Our first trip. I don't remember. I know. He thanked her. Kissed her cheek. But she could see it in his eyes. The memory was gone. Another midnight. Another countdown. Champagne. Applause. A kiss surrounded by cheers. She kissed him back. And felt nothing but fatigue. Eventually, she started therapy. Not secretly. Just quietly. I don't know if I'm happy, she said. In your marriage? The therapist asked. In my life. Are those different? She didn't know anymore. What does happiness look like? The therapist asked. She searched for an answer. Found none. I think I forgot, she said. She began painting again. Not to show anyone. Just to feel something that belonged to her. A corner of the guest room. Canvas. Color. Silence. He noticed one afternoon. I didn't know you painted. I used to. It's good. Thanks. She waited for a question. He checked the time. I have a call. She kept painting. At a dinner with friends, someone announced a pregnancy. Congratulations filled the table. Names. Futures. On the drive home, he said. That'll be us someday. Will it? You don't want that? I don't know if you do. I just said I did. You said the idea of it. He went quiet. Do you ever think about it? She asked. When? He didn't answer. She nodded. Staying began to feel physical. Heavy mornings. Carefully practiced smiles. Conversations that felt like crossing something fragile. In therapy, she was asked, What's keeping you there? I don't know. Is it love? She thought for a long time. I think it's the idea of love. The version we were supposed to be. And what are you now? She couldn't answer. One evening, she asked him something small. What's my favorite color? He hesitated. Blue. Green. Oh, do you know why? He frowned. Does it matter? Yes, she said. It does. He didn't understand why. That hurt more than the wrong answer. On a rare free day, they walked together. She asked if he remembered the early days, when he talked about the future and she listened. I don't remember that, he said. You talked for an hour. And I thought I was choosing a life we were building together. You are, he said. She stopped walking. Am I? You're my wife. I know what I am, she said. I don't know who I am to you. I don't understand what you want, he said. I want you to be curious about me. You are. Then show me. He couldn't. She suggested therapy together. He agreed. Earnestly. They went twice. He answered well. Carefully. Correctly. She could tell he was performing. After one session, she asked, Do you actually want to do this? I said I would. That's not what I asked. Finally, he said it. I don't know how to be what you need. I've tried. But it's never enough. Because you're present, she said softly. But you're not here. He didn't understand. And that was the problem. They stopped going. No discussion. No decision. Just stopped. One night, she couldn't sleep. She sat by the window, watching the city glow. Millions of lives moving forward. She thought about the woman she'd been. When she said yes to this life, she'd thought she was choosing partnership. But she'd chosen proximity to power and mistaken it for intimacy. She'd chosen something that looked perfect and lost herself inside it. She didn't leave. Not then. Not later. There was no apartment lined up. No boxes. No moment that felt decisive enough to act on. She just stayed. Life continued in small, orderly pieces. Weekends away. Shared breakfasts. Walks that ended where they began. Sometimes he reached for her hand. Sometimes she let him. The ocean stayed the same. So did the silence. When they returned home, he went back to work. She sat alone and watched the water until her thoughts went quiet. Family gatherings followed. Compliments were exchanged. Food was praised. Everything looked right. Her mother studied her face once and asked softly, Are you happy? She smiled. Of course. The question passed without answer. Later that night, she stood alone in the kitchen, lights off, hands resting on the counter, unsure why she hadn't gone to bed yet. The seasons changed. The events stayed the same. She wore the right dresses, said the expected things, learned when to smile. People told her she looked radiant. She thanked them. One morning, he gave her a necklace. Her birthstone. I remembered, he said. She believed him. He fastened it around her neck. She looked in the mirror. She saw a woman who looked exactly the way she was supposed to. Perfect, he said. She nodded. Celebrations came and went. At midnight, kisses were exchanged. Applause filled the room. She kissed him back and felt nothing. In therapy, she admitted what she hadn't said out loud before. I think I've made my choice. To stay, the therapist asked. Yes. And how does that feel? She thought carefully. Safe. The therapist waited. It has to be, she said. She stopped painting. Not deliberately. The brushes stayed where they were. The canvases waited. She walked past them every day. At a dinner with friends, someone asked her how she was. Not casually. Really asking. She said she was fine. They didn't believe her. Neither did she. At some point, she realized she couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed. Not politely. Not socially. Actually laughed. The memory didn't come. Some mornings, she woke before him and stared at the ceiling. She thought, I could leave. Then I won't. She made coffee and began the day. They attended a wedding once. The couple was young, hopeful, unafraid. She watched them promise everything. Her husband held her hand. She let him. Her chest felt hollow. Late one night, she asked him a question. Do you ever wonder what our lives would have been like if things were different? He didn't hesitate. This is what happened, he said. This is our life. She nodded. He returned to his book. She kept staring into the dark. Over time, she learned how to simplify herself. She wore the same dresses. Stopped opening the closet just to look. At events, she smiled on cue. In mirrors, she recognized the posture, not the person. Friends stopped calling. She canceled too many times. Silence replaced effort. On a quiet morning, she went for a walk alone. She sat on a bench and watched people pass. Couples, families, strangers moving forward. When she came home, no one asked where she'd been. Years passed. They stayed married. People still said they were lucky, and they were. They had everything people admired. She learned how to live inside it. Learned how to stop asking questions that required answers. Sometimes, late at night, she thought about the woman she used to be. The one who believed in being known. She wondered where she went. But she didn't look too closely, because she already knew. One morning, years later, she stood in the kitchen with her coffee. Sunlight poured in. He kissed her cheek before leaving for work. "Dinner tonight," he said. "You remember." "I remember." The door closed. Everything stayed exactly as it was. She took a sip, looked out at the city, thought about nothing. She never left. She never asked for more. She lived inside the life she chose. And somewhere along the way, she stopped noticing she wasn't really living at all. Nothing broke. And that was what broke her. Some stories don't end. They just keep happening. To people who stay. StoryQuell TV tells the stories we don't always have language for. The quiet truths. The choices we make before we understand their cost. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to StoryQuell TV. You're already part of this space.